Porsche 911 GT. Phone? Thank you. The Porsche 911 GT3 is quite simply the best sports car I've ever driven. It was thrilling beyond belief to drive this car yesterday. The sound it makes between 7,000 and 9,000 RPM is absolutely visceral. There is only one big problem with this car. I can't afford it. Nonetheless, let's come along for the ride with Mark and see what you think. Oi, phone.
I'm fortunate to have had a long history with the Porsche GT3. Going back 20 years, I've raced them and owned them. They're a fantastic car for the track. Today on inCARnation, Stu and I have something really special for you. It's a 991.2 GT3. I've driven this actual car on the racetrack a lot. I've done a lot of laps in it, but I've never driven it on the road. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes today. It's a car that just have confidence in to drive hard all the time. They're built for that. You really can't kill the brakes. The cars are so strong.
Yeah.
And there's really almost no other car you can do that with. Ferraris are getting close these days, but it's still not quite there. I know when I'm driving this compared to a Ferrari on a racetrack, I'm always in the back of my mind as always with a Ferrari, just be a little bit careful with it. Yeah, it may not last all day, but this car you just know is going to last all day.
So tell us about your time in GT3s.
Well, I go back a long way with GT3s, back to the original 996 GT3 in 2000, and won a few races in the category that year, racing in Australia.
Jim Richards and Mark Williamson and all Porsche GT3 front row.
Where did you race?
Bathurst, Phillip Island, Canberra Street Circuit, Gold Coast, Indy, when it was the actual Indy.
I'm going normal shocks, not PDK Sport, exhaust system off, cruising along, 6 gears, still a little bit blary, still a little bit race car.
Yep.
Race car. Okay, that's it's not really on its game yet, is it?
That was about half throttle.
Yeah. What was it?
Yeah.
Oh. I was going to say, oh, that didn't really impress me that much.
Let's see what we can do and give it a proper go.
Oh, it changes character 3 times.
It does, doesn't
at 3,000 it says, oh, now we're in business. At 5,000 it goes, oh, this is really serious. At 7 it just goes berserk. That sound, it switches at 7, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I wasn't shifting at the red line. You know, you can take it to 9. That was probably at about 8,000 where I was shifting up there.
So 0 to 100 there, even though you were just feathering it in first, it was 4.2.
Yeah.
Maximum power is actually at 8,250, but it maintains that power.
It does maintain it. And once you go over that, it doesn't flatten out. That's the thing I really like about it.
So if you switch at 9, it drops you straight back on maximum torque, which is at 6.
Yeah. Not even in PDK Sport.
PDK Sport, noisy exhaust. You mean that wasn't noisy?
It wasn't noisy. Pretty impressive, isn't it? And just the sound of that 4-litre flat 6 engine.
Yep.
The dual clutch transmission, we know it's a work of art, really, isn't it? Pretty much 2 transmissions working together.
Yep.
One working in the odd gears, one working in the even gears, and each gear up pre-selected already. So those gear shifts are happening in milliseconds. You can feel that on that downshift. It's absolutely outstanding.
Yep. We can get up to speed.
No, probably not. I was just using 7,000 revs.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Without wringing its neck at all.
4.8 seconds.
Yeah.
And you still had 2,000 revs to spare. Oh.
That was 9,000.
Oh, that engine. is just... Look, do you remember when you first had a car that had 100 horsepower? For me, it was a Mini Cooper. You know, we warmed it up from 80 and we got to 100.
Yeah.
And I went, 100 horsepower.
That's a lot, right?
And it was a lot. I mean, it only weighed like 700 kilos. And then I had 200 horsepower and I went, wow. And then I got a Porsche 928 that had 300 horsepower. And then I got a Nissan GTR that had 400 horsepower. And I can tell you, 500 is the right number. Any more than 500 is just a party trick. You're just showing off.
Kind of is, isn't it?
And we have been in a few 600 horsepower cars. If you want to see the reviews of them, they're all there. Have a look.
You know, road car, and you can just drive it in auto. I'm just in auto there now. It's one of the best shifting paddle shift transmissions I've ever come across when you just use it in simple auto mode. Most other cars, the Ferraris, are not very pleasant to drive in that mode. You really need to use the paddles all the time, but this car is just quite pleasant to drive, just in automatic mode.
As a driver's car, is there anything at all that it's lacking?
It's really rare, isn't it, to get, and for me, even with racing cars, to get out of a car and think, oh, yeah, it's pretty good, but just if we just did this, this and this, it'd be better or faster or something. And the previous 991.1 was very, very good. I didn't think they'd be able to improve on that, and they certainly have with this car. I don't think there's a way of improving this car. It's so good. They've got it just right. Absolutely.
If you don't like the wing at the back, if that's a little bit too much, you could get the GTS Touring manual only. No roll cage, no sports chrono.
Yeah.
So they're intended as a touring car, but they're essentially a GT3. Now this next section, this next few Ks is pretty rough in any car, but in a car with this amount of grip that's effectively a race car, you'd expect it to rattle your fillings out.
It's not doing that, is it?
It's not. I mean, this is a really, even on a bicycle, this is really rattles your teeth.
Now, so we'll go across to manual mode. We'll go PDK Sport. We'll stiffen the suspension. We'll open the exhaust. Weight transfer is fantastic. They really don't have any of the real understeer that you used to get out of Porsches, and they were famous for that, having that understeer, then you'd lift off to try and get the weight on the front, then the back would step out. That's all really been tuned out a few generations ago now, and certainly with this car, I think they've perfected it. But it just handles so well, doesn't it, Stu? Just the balance of the car. It's got that typical Porsche feeling of just, it puts the power down so well, and even at that speed you can just feel the car squats in the corner. My ribs are a bit sore around that long left-hand corner, Stu.
Your ribs are?
Yeah.
Well, that's because you fell off a horse on Saturday.
Yeah. I got to stick to 500 horsepower, not 1 horsepower. 1 horsepower is far too dangerous.
Yeah.
Carbon ceramic brakes on this GT3, they're an option. Are they any better than the steel? Probably not that much. I think on the track they are a bit better. They are superb though, and one of the things I really do like about the Porsche carbon ceramics as opposed to the Ferrari is at low speed and low temperatures they still work really well. Obviously we don't have much heat in these brakes at all. So here, I mean, you can feel that stops pretty well, doesn't it, Stu?
Yeah, it's good. It does stop pretty well. It goes pretty well too. This is so bumpy. I can't believe you're getting that grip without wheel skip. You know, even when I come down there on a bicycle, my tyres are skipping. And this car isn't, you know.
It's impressive, isn't it?
It's very impressive.
It's important to say, you know, I've still got stability control and traction control on. None of that is kicking in.
Yeah.
The threshold on this car is so high.
Yeah.
Even when I'm driving these cars on the racetrack, I actually still leave it on. It only ever really kicks in if you've stuffed up. Leave it on, even on the track, leave it on.
Yep.
Perhaps if you're running on slick tyres, maybe you take it off. But on a road tyre and a treaded tyre, leave that stability on. Technology is amazing.
It's ridiculous.
Just that engine revs up so quickly. It reminds me of a really fast and powerful motorcycle. PDK Sport, we can go 1 notch a little stiffer on the suspension there. You can just feel what that does, Stu. On these smooth roads like this, you really won't feel a lot of difference there.
No.
The typical Porsche just puts the power down so well.
We're on Michelin Cup 2s today. I can't say that I can notice the rear wheel steering doing its job. I'm sure it is doing its job, but it just feels like a rock solid Porsche to me.
You know, build over 50 k's an hour, it turns, the rear wheels turn the same way as the front wheel. Under 50 k's an hour, it starts to turn the other way, just to give you a little bit of help. And basically that's lengthening and shortening the wheelbase. I'm sure it does help, but I can't feel it happening.
Top gear, upper hill, 2,000 revs, squeeze on the throttle, whoa, and it goes.
Yeah.
Go figure. Too easy. Just so easy, isn't it? That is just sublime, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And a question I'm asked a lot, Stu, when people are looking at buying, they should I buy a manual or a PDK automatic? And it depends a little bit on what you want. If you want to track this car, for me the PDK is definitely the way to go. It's faster and it will give you a faster lap time. The owner of this car, Kevin, very dear friend of mine, we had some conversations about this prior to him buying this car. He's a big left foot braker when he's driving on the track. A lot of advantages to do that with left foot brake. I won't go into it now, but this car you can left foot brake, so it was a no-brainer for him to go PDK. Car you can left foot brake. The manual I've driven a lot, the GT3 and also the GT3 Touring. Beautiful transmission, probably one of the best in the world. Lovely auto blip, no need to double shuffle or double D-clutch. It's a little slower, but if you were not intending to track the car, you just wanted it as a road car, probably a manual would be the way to go, I think. It's the perfect beast if you want a car to be able to enjoy on a weekend, but you want to be able to take it to the track and thrash the hell out of it on a track and know you're not going to hurt the car, you're not going to hurt the brakes, you're not going to hurt the engine or the transmission.
Yeah. Wheel hands never leave the quarter to quarter past position because the pedals move with the wheel.
The steering has a great feel, doesn't it? Electric power steering, but it's got to be one of the best EPS systems I've come across. The weight of it is just incredible.
This car was going to be the last of the 4-litre normally aspirated race cars for the road, GT3s. It looks like the new 992 GT3 about to come out is also going to be normally aspirated. Porsche's got a habit of doing that. They say, oh, it's the last of its kind, and everyone thinks so, and then they outdo themselves once again.
They do. Now the GT2 RS I've driven quite a lot as well. Obviously got a lot more horsepower, it's way faster in a straight line, but it almost overstretches what the car can do in some regards. That's why I think the GT3 and the GT3 RS is such a well-rounded package. It's not stretched in any area whatsoever. The steering wheel is pleasantly unadorned by gadgets, isn't it? No buttons, no nothing, just a beautifully shaped steering wheel. Feels awesome in the hands.
There's no doubt if you're going to have one car and one car only, Porsche 911 GT3 is the car, and this is 20 years of development to get to this car from the original one. And this one is significantly better than the 991.1, the 3.8 as well.
Yes. Because we had a few engine problems with those ones, wasn't there?
But Porsche recognised that and they gave a 190,000 kilometre warranty for those in particular issues, just to reassure people that it was all going to be good. Well, I've had a good old gander at the Aussie marketplace, and surprisingly, there are quite a few 991 GT cars for sale. Very few of the older 996 and 997 GT3s, which are cheaper but increasing in value and quite collectible now. But now the 992 is on the horizon, there are several dozen low mileage 991s up for sale, including a bunch of almost new GT3 RS and GT2 RS. Almost all of them with very low Ks, and the vast majority the latest Gen 2 cars with the indestructible 4-litre motor, and only 4 manual gearbox GT3s. Why so many cars? Well, either someone's business circumstances have changed, or their serious other found out how much the car cost. Maybe they've just scratched that itch and it's time to get back in their family wagon, which will obviously be a Cayenne, BMW X5, SQ7 or an AMG. Tell me if I'm wrong. One of my friends sold his recently. He said the performance envelope is so high that on public roads at socially acceptable speeds, the car is just a bit boring. In order to have fun, I worried that I would either end up in prison or in hospital. So good news, you have plenty of choice and a big saving from new. Now the bad news. To play this game, you will have to find $250,000 for a Gen 1 or 300 big ones for a Gen 2. So that's a no from me. So that is the GT3. It is superb. If you've got plenty of Bitcoin you love to drive and you'd rather listen to the motor than the stereo, it is the perfect sports car.
We'll go PDK. We'll open the exhaust up.
9,000 RPM. Here we go.
little bit of ABS at the end there.
At the top of second there was a little hesitation.
That wasn't hesitation, that was just me not shifting gears at the right time.
Oh, you were in manual mode.
Yeah, I did. I just didn't shift it quickly enough. So it's quite a harsh limiter. You could feel that.
Yeah. Well, because it gathers rev so quickly, before you know it's going to be a 10,000 RPM.
Absolutely, yeah.
Look, okay, that's enough superlatives from us. I think you're getting the idea. Really, you can't fault this car. And the scores, as you see on the screen, reflect that. We had a good long talk about the scores, so here they are. Yes, we've given it 5 for performance and 5 for personality.
Yeah.
But really, you could have more horsepower, but you honestly don't need it. You do not need a GT2 RS. I doubt you need a GT3 RS. I reckon this GT3 is just fantastic.
This car is such a well-balanced package. You've got a lot of horsepower, but it's really packaged well with brakes and the handling and the grip capabilities of the car. It's just such a well-rounded car. Yeah, I don't think you can get a better sports car, and if you want to track it occasionally, when you want something that looks cool, is wonderful to drive. It's nice on bumpy roads, not unpleasant as a daily driver. Can you get any better than this? Probably not. And what we do have to say is thank you, Kevin, for letting us use your amazing GT3 here today. Kevin's a very dear friend of mine for 20 more years, been a great supporter of my motor racing and my business over the years, and trusting me with your cars, we really do appreciate it. Thanks, Kevin.
So that's where we're going to end today. Thank you so much for watching inCARnation Australia. Please share with your friends if you like the video, and subscribe. That would really help us. Thanks so much. See you next time. Oh hey, you made it right through to the end of the video. Congratulations. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please share it with your motoring friends, and above all, click the little subscribe thing down here so you can see the latest videos when we bring them out, hopefully each week. I look forward to seeing you soon.